machine. Usually a race reserved for just motorcycles, it's now open to four-wheel vehicles. This year, 34 cars were entered. They range from modified sedans to buggies. The start is staggered. The winner is decided on the best time. One by one, the cars leave. Their destination, Finke, a small hamlet southeast of Alice. There, they will spend the night before returning to the start. A total distance of about 420 kilometres. 6 hours after the cars get away, more than 90 bikes line up to start their race. Both man and machine must be in top condition. Protection from the elements is vital.
Nothing to do.
As the start time draws near, there's a mixture of emotions. Some riders are confident.
How do you think you'll go?
Well, I'm starting from the first grid, so I can't do too bad unless mechanical breakdown or any
The rest
other.
have got to chase you. The rest have got to chase you.
Hopefully.
For others, the race is a new experience.
Is this your first time in this event? Yeah. It is. How do you think it'll go? Have you pre-run the course yet?
No.
You have no idea what you're facing?
Oh, I've only rode from here to Deepwell and back.
So it's just flat out and find out what happens.
One man who knows what it's like is two-times winner and former Australian Mr. Motocross Stephen Gall. For him, it's an adventure.
Yeah, I like it. It's a great atmosphere. There's a lot of nice people here. It's an interesting race. It's an exciting race. I just treat it with a bit of care and sort of have a good time while I'm doing it.
Hopefully come out in front.
Hopefully come out in front, but it's not the be-all and end-all if I don't. You know, there's a lot of other things in life to do as well.
At last it's time to start, and the pro-class riders are first away, including last year's winner Alan Rowe on bike number 1, a Honda CR500. First away, there are still plenty waiting to start. One by one, they line up against each other on the start line. Most get away cleanly, but occasionally there are problems. Ahead are some of the roughest conditions not only in Australia, but probably the world. Out here, there's no bitumen highways. The tracks are all sand with the occasional rock. Eventually, after more than 5 hours on the road, the first car crosses the line. Number 267, a Datsun 1600 buggy driven by Gary Nicole. As the champagne flows, few know just how hard it's been for the Alice Springs local.
That last 45, 50k in, there's no brakes, but it's good fun though, all the same. Yeah.
Another local, Adrian Scarbossa, finishes second, while Mike Paul from South Australia is third. Several hours later, the first bike arrives back at the Alice, and it's another local, Mark Winter on a Honda CR500.
The track was very good actually. The car's made a lot better. Usually when it's just been a bike race, you get a lot of twitchy stuff, but after the car's been through, it's just nice smooth lines everywhere. So if you're in the first five bikes, I got an easy ride really.
So what will you do now?
Start preparing for next year.
What about celebrations?
Oh yeah, we'll have a few tinnies tonight, I think.
Alan Rowe is second. It's been a disappointing race for him. After leading for most of the race, he fell victim to a flat tyre, allowing Winter to pass him. But while Rowe is frustrated with his effort, third place Stephen Greenfield is ecstatic. It's been a big improvement for the English-born rider after his 13th place last year. So the end of yet another Finke Desert race. All that remains now are the memories. And of course, to prepare for next year.
Yeah, good stuff.
Stroll sign there, down in the ruts, and it's not really a very big lead being held at the moment by Armstrong. That's only 4 seconds.
4.35 in fact, yes, well. So Armstrong maintaining a reasonable advantage, but he only needs one small slip. And these two riders, Jimmy Ellis, Craig Dack, will be right upon him.
The task was as clear as mud. All the riders had to do was tackle the tacky-tracky with their eyes closed and pray that for 10 minutes they might survive the bike swallowing brown flags. All night the riders struggled towards the 20-lap final with gritty determination. The water took the super out of the cross. Of those who made it through the sieve, Craig Dack and Jeff Hicks, the visiting American, were the favourites. When the gate dropped, it was the last-minute entry, Mike Frisk from Sweden, who snatched the lead on the Yamaha. And just to confuse the experts, his countryman Stefan Olsson made a similar dash on lap 1 to slide into second. On board his new Brian Collins Yamaha, Craig Dack was the charger. Early on, he was in 4th position behind Jeff Hicks, and once he determined a direction, he was off and running. By half distance, Dack was through to second, and Frisk was getting a little shaky at the helm. It wasn't long before the inevitable occurred. Past that point, the race belonged to the two-time Mr. Motocross champion. It was a great way to open his 88 account, and he knocked off all the locals and 5 internationals to boot.
A very nice way to start off the year, and let's see if I can keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, you really must have been surprised. You got away fairly poorly, if you don't mind me saying. You were back in about 4th or 5th, but you just plucked at it and away you went.
Well, yes, in my semi-final race, I got another bad start, and I charged through a little bit too hard, and I caught up to Bell, and I was making a few mistakes. So I figured that time I had the speed, so I just steadied back and just rode smoothly and eventually picked the guy that was leading up.
I suppose the mud. McGee then.
And the flame belching in.
Shaped like production cars, 500 cubic inches with gasoline rather than the nitromethane that are running funny cars on top fuel. They're normally aspirated with carburetors, have 4-speed transmissions, and are slightly heavier at 2,350 pounds.
Well, Jerry Ekman there, who's the defending Summer Nationals champion, he barely qualified, got the last spot, number 16. But sometime between qualifying and second round early today, Jerry Ekman found some horsepower. He defeated the points leader, Bruce Allen, the famed rear and Morrison Beretta, in the far lane. Let's take a look at just how close that race was. Jerry Ekman in the near lane, the bright yellow Trans Am. Far lane is Bruce Allen. They can see each other now with their peripheral vision, and neither driver, I'm sure, knew who won when this contest was over. And that gave Ekman a shot at the semifinal round, and this meant Jeff Bailey. Now, Bailey got here in interesting fashion as well. In round number 2, Warren Johnson was his victim. Well, actually, Johnson committed suicide. Watching the far lane, the blue and white Oldsmobile will move just a bit too quick. You see the Christmas tree out in front, and the red light glows at the bottom of the tree. Automatic disqualification for Warren Johnson. Jeff Bailey, who has never been this far in competition, now faces Jerry Ekman, the semis and pro stock.
So a different kind of pressure now for Bailey in the near lane. Engines revving, waiting to move now on the lights, and a red light on the near side. The pressure has gotten to Bailey. He fouls, and just like Warren Johnson before him, he is disqualified. It'll be Ekman advancing to the finals with a 755, 182 miles per hour. What a shame for Jeffrey Bailey.
We're in the Ford Thunderbird of Bob Glidden as he heats up the tires prior to his semifinal round competition. His opponent will be Mark Powick. Now, right there, you can see that maze of levers. That controls a clutchless 4-speed transmission. You see Bob right now selecting reverse gear. You don't have to depress the clutch. Now, Mark Powick, he faces that same shifting situation, all of those levers on board. Powick was runner-up at the Winter Nationals earlier this year. He was beaten by Butch Leal, who, as Gary mentioned, failed to qualify here. Now, earlier today, Tony Christian, the man number 2 in points, the winner of the Mid-South Nationals, was in the far lane. This was round 2 action, and Christian was a heavy favorite over young Powick. Christian in the far lane just steadily fell back, however. His car was not performing properly, and that allowed Mark Powick to take a reasonably easy victory in round number 2 and gives him the opportunity to race this man, Bob Glidden, winner of 61 NHRA titles. Now, in round number 2, it was Kenny Delco who fell victim to the red and white Thunderbird of Bob Glidden. Let's look back at it. Glidden in the near lane, the white machine in the far lane. That is Kenny Delco, a real tough young customer in the pro stock ranks. But here, he was humbled a bit by the 8-time champion Glidden. So, here is the last race in the semifinals, and again, we're on board with Bob Glidden.
Glidden working from the near lane, trying to generate some momentum. He got his one victory of the year at Columbus in June. to win twice in this division. Bruce Allen has already been eliminated. Glidden away, but Powick sets at the line. This race is over as we go on board and we watch Glidden now go up, hit the lever for the chute. He advances to the final round. And for Powick, bitter disappointment as he just coasts it out. So the final pairings now have Glidden going against Jerry Ekman. Glidden with the quicker elapsed time, and the semifinal round has lane choice. We're ready for the Pro Stock final. Glidden, a winner twice in the Summer Nationals against the defending Summer National champion Ekman. Ekman in the yellow car in the far lane. Glidden in the red and white, both men away. Glidden with an obvious advantage. Now they pull even coming down the strip. This is anybody's race, but Glidden makes it 3 times as the Summer Nationals champion, his second win of the year. The final numbers, 746, 185 miles per hour against Ekman's 754, 183.
Glidden definitely made the right move, Gary, when he put that fresh motor in, because he's going to need every bit of it. You could see a little bit of smoke come out of Ekman's car as they left the line, but Ekman was still hanging on side by side as they reached the halfway mark. But the more powerful motor of Glidden began to pay off, and he eased that Thunderbird right out in front of him just before they got to the end.
And Glidden now at the far end is with Steve Evans.
Well, we had plenty of time, Steve, and this is the engine we ran 738 with, so we felt confident. I thought this engine was maybe a little bit on the better side. The boys thought the other one was, so we stayed with the other one. Come on in here, Jerry.
Jerry Ekman, who fought the good fight, trying to be the repeat champion. 46 on the final.
I owed this guy one. I told you before this run.
And Collins' Yamaha teamster Craig Dack had a 20-point lead after 4 rounds. His goal? To win the title for the 3rd time on the trot and to join Stephen Gall and Anthony Gunter on the elite list of motocross champions. Keen to stop that occurring was Glenn Bell. The ex-Yamaha rider was in top form. His Honda on the pace, and the big incentive was a chance to become Mr. Motocross for the first time. The wildcard entry was that of Eddie Warren. Staying over in Australia after a series of supercross races, the hotshot Kawasaki rider added pressure to the situation and a degree of uncertainty in the minds of the top 2. A rough, hard and rocky Oran Park bathed in sunshine set the scene for the conclusion to the running of the 15th title, the dirt racing's top honour. The first of 4 heats got off to a bruising start. Marlon Walker tangled with Dack and came off second best. Demonstrating his determination, Bell shot to the lead, laying down some awesome times ahead of new faces Troy Doran and Steve Maguire. The unseeded youngsters had qualified for a berth in the event after elimination heats the day before, and they did a top job. Up front, Bell was untouchable. He performed better than expected and rode away from the pack. 2/3 of the way into Moto 1, Warren had tagged the new boys after a slow start. He squeezed past Doran easily and moved to 3rd. Bell won by a mile, Dack was 2nd, and Eddie Warren safe in 3rd.
I had a little bit of a get sideways sort of action there, and I sort of calmed myself down a bit. I just wanted to get out front and try to make Craig catch me, which he was trying to start off with, but realised he couldn't, so he just settled down then. And then towards the end of the race, I just took it easy just to recoup myself again.
The second moto exposed Troy Doran as a talent again. He blasted to the lead on the Yamaha ahead of Kiwi ace Darrell Atkins, Jimmy Deacon, David Armstrong and Glenn Bell. Atkins was running hot. He moved up on Doran and made a bold leap for the lead. Glenn Poole had a taste of the turf, falling from his Suzuki, while up front, the familiar sight of Bell and Dack dueling eclipsed the earlier battle between Atkins and Doran. Dack was in great form, and after stalking Bell, he made his move for the lead and went on to win from Glenn. The 3rd moto was the all-important one. If Dack got a major result, he'd win the title. After 2 poor starts, it was Eddie Warren from the US who led the field from Bell, Maguire, Poole, and then a big gap back to Dack. David Armstrong came unstuck, ending a miserable weekend, but he gained enough points to lock up 3rd overall.
Yeah, I lost the front end. I'm trying too hard and I just can't hang on with my hands, so better off sitting it out. I've got 3rd tied up, so that's all that really matters now.
Warren was unbeatable. He disappeared into the dust and couldn't be stopped. Dack diced with Maguire before getting 2nd and Bell made it to 3rd. Craig's 2nd was enough to lock up the series, so the final moto was a mere formality. A Another clean start gave Warren the lead from Maguire and Deacon in a close-knit bunch. Disappointingly, Glenn Bell made a dreadful start and was stoned last on lap 1. Warren cleared out again. Maguire faded, leaving Deacon and Dak at each other's throats. Craig tried a variety of lines, but Deacon was determined to hang on to his spot despite a dose of food poisoning. Dak eventually got by, but not without a fight. Eddie Warren took his second win, Craig was second and Deacon third. Bell was fourth after a great comeback ride through the field. So Craig Dak made it title number 3. It was a great ride and added power to his aim of riding in Europe next season.
I'm extremely happy. You know, it's been a very good series for me. It's been a hard series. Glenn rode very well, and you know, today was sort of just the icing on the cake for me. I'm going overseas next year to finish my career in Europe, hopefully, and this was such a nice way to go out.
And good.
Have a look at it. He got all sideways. Yes, look at it. Lost it entirely. And it spat him off forward. Lucky it didn't go after him. So, to recap, it's Armstrong from Craig Dak. And then in 5, in 3rd place is Vaughan Style. Jimmy Ellis has recovered superbly to 4th place on bike number 3. And then Tony Fenton, 19, is behind him, followed by 8, Lyndon Heffernan. Armstrong shaping very much to be the man of the day. Can he hang on? He's been leading this one for more than 4 minutes. He's got a lot still to do. 2 laps completed. They're on their 3rd. They've been running to about 8. 8 very long, very arduous laps. And the time of day, 3rd moto, when they're getting wearier. Boy, the bike feels heavy, the arms feel leaden, and the mind is starting to be a bit dulled, and you feel as though you've been thumped and pummeled and pushed and bashed just about enough.
So it's the 2 Team Honda riders now in 1st and 2nd position. David Armstrong in the lead. Behind him, the man who's already won Castrol Mr. Motocross for 1986, Craig Dak. Then, back in 3rd position, is bike 5, Vaughan Style, on another Honda CR250, entered by Brian Collins Motorcycles. And then comes the KTM of Jimmy Ellis, the American, in 4th position, and about 8 seconds in arrears of Style.
This is real interest with the lead. If Armstrong can hang on to the lead and Ellis maintains his 4th place, which is as they are at the moment, albeit with Craig Dak trying everything to pin him back, then Ellis and Armstrong would be tied on 142 points for 3rd place as they go into the final moto. 3rd place in the series this year.
2nd place in the series, Will, because Glenn Bell is in 2nd place on 141.
Indeed,
so they take 2nd.
Yeah. So that's real interest. So I wonder if Craig Dak recognises that, or indeed if the pit crews recognise it. Because for David Armstrong, that's very important. Great effort by Armstrong, though. Superb.
Patch of residual water there from the rains that have swamped Doran Park in the last few days. And it's a credit to the organisers as to how well this course is built, that the drainage has worked and the track's back into a nice hard-packed dry condition for today's Castrol Mr. Motocross. Craig Dak now closing on the tail of David Armstrong, and here's hoping he's only showboating.
7/10 of a second, and Ellis will be 3rd in a moment. He's not. There's a fall just in front of him, and that was number 5.
It's Vaughan Style, so now we've got a race for 3rd position between Vaughan Styles and Jimmy Ellis.
And Styles leaping away again, though. Boy, he just got going in time to fend off Ellis. There's about 0.6 of a second between them. And there's about 0.9 of a second between 1st and 2nd, Armstrong and Dak.
put a watch on these two just to see how much they really are showboating.
0.67 of a second, first to second. Very hard to tell, of course, with lap times because the track changes from lap to lap. And what's a good line on one moment is Jimmy Ellis. Looks to be sizing up Vaughan Style, but doesn't do any good, takes an entirely different line. But this is the leading pair. They're out on their 5th lap.
12.99 seconds separates second from third position. That is Craig Dack back to Vaughan Styles.
At the moment, 15